It's 6:02 a.m. Sofia is sitting in her car outside the gym, dressed to work out and completely unable to move. The engine's off, the car park lights are still on, and Spotify is quietly playing the same motivational playlist she's used 100 times. Her doctor told her last month, exercise is one of the best treatments we have for low mood. Aim for 3 sessions a week. The endorphins will help. So here she is, session 1. Her hands are on the steering wheel. Her heart is pounding. Her body feels like it weighs 1,000 kilos. She scrolls through her phone, staring at an email from work, an unfinished WhatsApp to her sister, and an old photo where she used to look fit. The shame creeps in. Why can I run a whole team at work, but I can't even get out of this car? Before we go any further, if you want to actually learn the psychological skills I'm about to describe and practice them in a structured way, you can do that at PsycheVita.com or in the PsycheVita app. That's where I've organised these skills into clear signals and mastery packs so you can train them step by step. Back to Sofia in the car park. In a moment, she'll either force herself into the gym with gritted teeth or drive home and spend the rest of the day telling herself she's failed. If you recognise something of yourself or your clients in that car, this video is for you. You've probably heard the line, exercise boosts your endorphins, you'll feel better. That's partly true, but if exercise were only about endorphins, then everyone who knows they should move more would already be doing it consistently. And we all know that's not what happens. What most people call symptoms, low motivation, shame after another failed fitness plan, anxiety that spikes in the gym, I call signals. Signals that specific psychological capacities and competencies haven't yet fully developed to match the life you're living. I'm a psychotherapist, executive coach, clinical supervisor, and award-winning researcher. I'm Dr. Tony Weston. Over the last 20 years, I've worked with more than 1,200 clients, many of them told to just exercise more for their depression, anxiety, trauma, or burnout. Before I trained as a psychotherapist, I completed a degree in biochemistry, specialising in the biochemistry of mood and behaviour. So I understand the chemistry, and I also find it deeply reductionist, and honestly, a bit offensive when human experience gets collapsed into just chemicals. A mother's love for her newborn baby is not just oxytocin. Standing in front of a breathtaking sunset is not just some dopamine and a bit of serotonin. A profound spiritual experience is not just a surge of activity in this or that brain region. Chemistry is part of the story, but you are more than your molecules. In the Lifelong Capacities Map, we talk about 12 core metadomains of psychological development. For example, 1. Emotional capacity, from repression or overwhelm to steadiness. 6. Behavioural capacity, from impulse to disciplined action. 8. Somatic capacity, from depletion to embodied vitality. On this channel, we're a growing community of therapists, coaches, and high-functioning people who are tired of simplistic advice and tips and who want a genuine roadmap to psychological self-mastery. In this episode, we'll cover 3 things. 1. Why just get more exercise so often fails, and what that failure is really a signal of. 2. The 3 core inner capacities that movement actually trains. Every time you move, even for 10 minutes. 3. How to turn your exercise into a practical laboratory for psychological growth, including how to work with this inside the Grow section of PsycheVita.com and in the PsycheVita app. Let's start with why the endorphins story is so incomplete. Why just exercise often fails, and what that really means. If knowledge were enough, nearly everyone watching this would already have a perfect movement routine. You know the headlines. Exercise is as effective as antidepressants for many people. Exercise improves focus, sleep, stress, health span. And yet, you drag yourself to the gym for 2 weeks and then stop. You buy a bike that becomes an expensive coat hanger. You go all out, you go all in on a 6-week challenge, then burn out and feel worse than before. From the outside, it looks like lack of willpower. On the inside, it often feels like a toxic mix of shame, fear, and exhaustion. In the PsycheVita approach, we'd say this isn't laziness. This is a signal that life's demands have exceeded your current internal capacities in some way. When you're in chronic stress, trauma residue, or burnout, your PsycheVita vitality scale, your internal battery, can feel stuck at a 1 or a 2 out of 5. Your nervous system is stuck in fight, flight, or freeze. Your body feels heavy, wired, or numb. Your thoughts are harsh or scattered. Your behaviour swings between extremes, all or nothing. And then someone says, just move more, you'll get endorphins. That advice might be biochemically correct, but developmentally incomplete, because exercise is not just a chemical switch. It's a skill-demanding situation. Every time you move your body, you are quietly being asked to regulate uncomfortable sensations. Make a realistic plan and follow through. Stay in contact with your emotions instead of attacking yourself. And in our AI screen-based world, reconnect with a body that modern life trains us to ignore. If those skills, those capacities and competencies haven't yet fully developed, your nervous system reads exercise as a threat, not an opportunity. So the failure to start or to sustain movement is not proof you're weak. It's information. It's your system saying, I don't yet have the skills for this version of movement at this intensity in this season of my life. The question becomes, which skills, which capacities? Let's name them. What exercise is really training? 3 inner capacities. When we look underneath the label exercise through the Lifelong Capacities Map, we see at least 3 key metadomains lighting up. Firstly, capacity 8, somatic capacity, from depletion to embodied vitality. Secondly, behavioural capacity, at 6, from impulse to disciplined action. And thirdly, capacity 1, emotional capacity, from repression or overwhelm to steadiness. I'll name 3 specific competencies you're training every time you move. So firstly, within somatic capacity, 8.3, emotional physical vitality, from numb or fried to steadily alive. This competency is your ability to generate and sustain a sense of aliveness, not hype, not adrenaline, but genuine vitality. As part of somatic capacity, from depletion to embodied vitality, think of it as, can my body and emotions move together in a way that leaves me more alive afterwards? When Aryan first came to see me, he was a 38-year-old software engineer. He described his days as sit in front of a screen, code, snack, doom scroll, repeat. His anxiety signals were loud. Racing heart when a Slack notification popped up. Tight chest in meetings, collapsing into bed, and then lying awake scrolling until 1 a.m. On the map, his somatic capacity, particularly 8.3, emotional physical vitality, was sitting around level 1 or 2. Very little movement, very little awareness of his body beyond tension or numb. We didn't start with train for a 10k. We started with 3 8-minute walks per week around his office block. But here's the difference. Those walks weren't about steps or calories. They were about noticing his breath, feeling his feet in his shoes, letting his shoulders drop 2 millimeters, allowing just a fraction more aliveness than sitting at his desk. Over a few months, as his capacity for vitality grew, his signal shifted. Less jaw tension, fewer 2 a.m. doom scrolling sessions, slightly more patience with his team. This is what I call a developmental cascade. By training 8.3 emotional physical vitality through simple movement, we saw knock-on shifts in his cognitive capacity, his behavioural capacity, and even his anxiety signals. Exercise isn't punishment for your body. It's a conversation with your nervous system. Chemicals show up in that conversation, yes, but the conversation itself, the relationship with your body, is not reducible to chemistry. Secondly, behavioural capacity, specifically 6.4, reliable execution and follow-through, from good intentions to real results. The second competency is about how you keep promises to yourself. On the map, this sits in 6, behavioural capacity, from impulse to disciplined action, and particularly in 6.4, reliable execution and follow-through, from good intentions to real results. I like the saying, your workout is not a morality test, it's a laboratory where you practice being the version of you that your future life will need. When Amina first came to see me, she was a senior nurse, working rotating shifts. She joined and left 6 gyms in 3 years. Each time she'd go hard for a fortnight, crash, then spend months telling herself she was hopeless. When we mapped her pattern, we realised she was trying to behave like a level 4 or 5 in behavioural capacity, rigid, high-volume programs, while her actual capacity, given her stress and shift work, was closer to level 2. She didn't yet have solid 6.4 reliable execution and follow-through in place. What she could manage were tiny, flexible, negotiated commitments. So we made one rule. On work days, I move my body for 7 minutes. That's it. Sometimes that was stretching on the ward stairs. Sometimes a short walk after a night shift. Sometimes dancing in a kitchen to one song. The skill wasn't intensity. It was self-trust. When I say I'll do 7 minutes, I do 7 minutes. Not 70, not 0, 7. Over time, she moved from level 2 to level 3 in 6.4 reliable execution and follow-through, from chaotic all or nothing to imperfect but consistent. Once that skill was in place, we could add variety and challenge. But if we'd skipped that and chased only endorphins, we'd have missed the deeper win, a nervous system that now believed, I can rely on myself. Again, yes, that consistency will shift her dopamine pathways and metabolic markers. But what matters most is that she's becoming a different kind of person to herself. No blood test can fully capture that. Thirdly, emotional capacity, specifically 1.2 adaptive emotional processing, from repression or overwhelm to metabolizing feelings. This third competency is one of the heartbeat skills across the whole PsycheVita model. This is your ability to notice, feel, and metabolize emotion without collapsing, exploding, or numbing out. Exercise is often sold as a way to escape your feelings. Just work out, you'll get out of your head. But used well, movement can actually be a safe place to listen to your feelings in doses your body can handle. When Ethan first sat down in my consulting room, he was a high-performing founder going through a painful divorce. He'd started running again after years of sitting behind a laptop. At first, he used running as flight. He'd push himself until his legs burned, just to outrun the grief. In our work, we shifted the frame. Before each run, he paused for a brief emotional check-in. Nothing elaborate, just a moment of honesty. What's here today? Can I carry 5% of that feeling with me on this run, instead of trying to outrun it? He wasn't trying to resolve his grief in 30 minutes. He was practicing being in motion with emotion, not against it. That's 1.2 adaptive emotional processing in action inside exercise. Not bypassing, not drowning, accompanying. Over the following weeks, he reported fewer emotional crashes at night, less self-attack when memories surfaced, and a subtle sense that his body wasn't just a vehicle for his brain, it was a partner in healing. Again, chemistry is happening. But what makes this sacred human work is that Ethan is learning to walk alongside his own heart, not merely tweaking a neurotransmitter. Why? It's just chemicals is too small and a bit offensive. Let me come back to this reductionist idea that it's all just chemicals, because it really matters for how we think about exercise. As someone who studied biochemistry, I have huge respect for what we can see and measure. We can show that exercise changes levels of endorphins, dopamine and stress hormones. We can image brain regions lighting up. We can track inflammation markers and cardiovascular improvements. All of that is real and important. But when we say a mother's love is just oxytocin, falling head over heels in love is just dopamine, or at a symphony or a sunrise is just a pattern of activation, or spiritual experiences just a glitch in the temporal lobe, we don't sound sophisticated. We sound like we've forgotten what it is to be human. Chemistry is one level of description. It's like describing a beautiful novel purely in terms of ink distribution on paper. So when someone says to you, exercise will fix you because it boosts your endorphins, I want you to hear the missing piece. Exercise can be one way your whole self, body, mind, relationships, meaning, learns new skills that show up as chemical changes. You are not a passive bag of chemicals waiting to be adjusted. You are a person whose capacities can grow, whose vitality can deepen, whose spirit can be elevated. That's the level where exercise becomes a mind reviver, not just an endorphin pump. 4 shifts to turn exercise into psychological training. Let's get practical. Whether you can currently manage a gentle walk or a vigorous workout, here are 4 shifts to turn movement into psychological training. Shift 1. From burn calories to build capacity. Before you start any movement, ask, which inner skill am I practicing today? You might choose vitality. Today I'm practicing allowing 5% more energy in my body. Follow through. Today I'm practicing showing up, even if it's just 7 minutes. Emotional processing. Today I'm practicing moving with my feelings, not against them. This transforms exercise from a moral scoreboard into a skill building session. Shift 2. Use a simple body battery check-in. Think of your PsycheVita vitality scale as an internal battery from 0 to 5. Before you move, you can quietly ask yourself, right now, what's my body battery at? 0 is completely overwhelmed or shut down. 5 is grounded, energized, and connected. No judgment, just data. Then, given that battery level, what's the kindest, most skillful form of movement I can choose? At a 1, that might be stretching in bed or a 3-minute walk to the mailbox. At a 3, maybe a 20-minute brisk walk. At a 4, perhaps a full workout with recovery time afterwards. After the movement, check in again. What's my battery now? Did this choice move me even a half point towards more vitality? Those kinds of micro skills are exactly what we go into in depth inside the somatic capacity signals in the PsycheVita app and at psychevita.com. Shift 3. Design tiny, compassionate commitments. Instead of, I'll exercise 6 days a week, try twice a week, I'll move my body for 7 to 10 minutes in any way that respects my current battery level. Make it specific. How long? How often? Small enough that it feels almost too easy. Flexible in method. Walk, stretch, dance, light weights. Then celebrate completion as capacity building, not as finally being good. If you notice yourself swinging between obsessed with the gym and avoiding it completely, that's not failure, that's a signal about capacity 6, behavioural capacity, needing attention, particularly 6.4, reliable execution and follow through. Shift 4, bring in relationships and meaning. Movement doesn't have to be solitary. A weekly walk and talk with a friend can train both somatic capacity and relational capacity, from disconnection to attuned relating. Joining a beginner class can build attachment safety around your body in community. Walking with a partner or child can anchor exercise in 7, purpose capacity, from drift to directed purpose, who I want to be in their life. You might ask, if I imagine myself 10 years from now with higher vitality and deeper relationships, how would that version of me move their body today? When exercise is linked to identity and meaning, not just shoulds, it becomes much easier to sustain. If you've stayed with me this far, there's a good chance that exercise is already a live topic in your life, for you personally, for your clients, or both. Maybe you felt like Sofia in the car, fully dressed, full of shoulds, frozen in place. Maybe you've been iron, living from the neck up until your body starts shouting. Maybe you've been Amina, trapped in all or nothing patterns that leave you exhausted and ashamed. Maybe you've been Ethan, using exercise to outrun pain instead of walking alongside it. Wherever you are, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not broken. Your difficulty with exercise is not a character flaw. It's a signal, a precise, valuable signal that certain psychological capacities haven't yet had the chance to fully develop. If you want to go deeper with this, here's your next step. Head to psychevita.com or open the PsycheVita app. In the Grow section, you'll find listen-along videos and mastery packs connected to today's theme to help you elevate your skills in these areas, especially somatic capacity, behavioural capacity, and emotional capacity. There, you can learn these capacities in more detail, follow structured step-by-step processes, and build the skills that turn exercise into a genuine mind and spirit reviver, not just another task on your to-do list. If you're the kind of person who likes to understand the full roadmap My book, Transform Your Life, The Ultimate Guide to Self-Mastery, lays out the full Lifelong Capacities Map. 12 capacities, 48 competencies, 6 levels from 0 to 5. There's a chapter on body energy and vitality that sits right underneath what we've explored today. And if you want a guided practice, I've recorded a separate psychescription, a short video you can use alongside your movement. Your body is not the enemy. Your lack of motivation is not laziness. These signals are not a life sentence, they're a call to grow. Every walk, every stretch, every intentional breath is not just movement, it's a tiny, powerful vote for the future version of you whose vitality, relationships, and health span will thank you. I'm Dr. Tony Weston. Thank you for being here and for taking your own signals seriously. I'll see you in the next video, where we'll look at another signal that often travels with this one: persistent fatigue, and which capacities it's quietly asking you to build.